jealousy, and revenge, how cheating changes everything. Monday. "Well, I'm disappointed," said I. "But you should be thrilled," he replied. "Your wife isn't having an affair after all." "She has." "That's impossible," added the young woman sitting next to him. "I've been watching her for 3 weeks now." "But it is. Despite the fact that you paid money for it, you still haven't been able to prove it." "No, you only suspect it," said the boss. "We take on cases like this with an open mind, and you paid us an arm and a leg, as you put it, to find out the truth. You cost too much. We quoted our rates before you even hired us. £50 an hour, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for 3 weeks is £7,500. We also paid for an extra operative who sometimes substitutes for our main lady. That, plus travel and food expenses for the two of them, amounted to another $1,000 and $500 for a gym membership." "A gym membership?" "Of course," the woman said. "You wanted me to watch your wife at the gym. There was a discount if I signed up for 6 months. I can't say I'm crazy about gyms, but I go every week anyway. It would be silly to waste my time. I could have just filmed her going in and out like in a restaurant, but you wanted a thorough job, so I followed her. She has a nice car, by the way. I wouldn't mind having one of those. It's a late VW Sirocco, Model R, with a black roof and rear spoiler. Looks like I'm going to have to sell the damn thing to pay your bill." "And you still can't tell me when you got suspicious?" the guy asked. "Not exactly. Maybe a couple months ago. Let's forget it. Keep your gym membership. Look, there are certain signs that indicate a spouse is having an affair. I told you about them at the beginning, but I'll repeat them again if you want. Go ahead. Stop me when I mention what you've noticed. Your wife is aloof, defensive, and impatient when asked. Her attitude toward her cell phone or computer has changed. The frequency of sex has changed. She has started working late or spending more time out of the house. She wears sexier clothes or underwear. Persistent odors of aftershave, alcohol, or smoke appear, often in combination with her showering more often. Does that remind you of anything?" "No," I had to agree. "So you haven't given us anything to work on, other than your confidence?" "I'm confident." "But you know what Sherlock said. When you've ruled out the impossible, whatever is left, however improbable, must be true. It's not our fault if the truth doesn't meet your expectations." "I'm sure it is. I just can't explain why. Do one last thing for me. You're a detective. Pretend she's really having an affair. Now tell me the incredible truth. How does she do it?" "Okay. She has sex in the barbershop restrooms. It must be an unconventional relationship because there are no male employees there, and in the 3 weeks we've been watching, there hasn't been a single male customer. A man sneaks into her car while she's giving someone a perm. He sinks into the driver's seat and covers himself with a blanket or something. She sneaks her lover into your house, or perhaps he is living in your attic. She makes love to him downstairs while you sleep. Maybe she knocks you unconscious with some kind of drug. She's having an affair with me, and my assistant is covering for us, or vice versa. She's been following you all this time and found out you hired us. That's why she's stopped all business until we're done. But the most likely thing is that she's doing this on her off days when you told us not to check, claiming she's always on your radar." It was my turn to sigh. It's rare that anyone is willing to pay for the thoroughness with which we've approached this case. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll keep your initial deposit, but I'll give you back half of the remaining amount if you can prove she's playing away from home. You have a week, and it's got to be something my operatives can figure out. But I warn you, we're talking about the impossible. I didn't hold out much hope, but it was a fair offer. The problem is that Cassie's schedule is so erratic. Her work week at the hair salon runs Tuesday through Saturday from 6 p.m. On Wednesday, her first full day of work, she heads to the gym on her lunch break. "It's an energetic start to the work week," she says. On the other days, the girls at the salon bring their own food and take their lunch break in shifts. Once in a while, usually on a Thursday, One or more of them choose to go to the cafe, also in shifts. The only back entrance to the salon where she works is a drab yard big enough for a van to pull in there and make the weekly delivery, and the salon manager always personally checks the unloading. On the days that Cassie has the day off, we do everything together. I work from home, so I always have as much free time as she does. We store, go out to dinner, go to the movies. We do everything together. I went through their pictures and movies. They showed her leaving the house, arriving at and leaving the salon, returning home. All had the date and time stamped on them. The first one was a movie and the others were photos. On Wednesday, on her way to the gym, she stopped at our favorite Greek restaurant to get a sandwich and a pot of yogurt. She changes into gym clothes at work since she puts them on when she gets in the car. The clips at the restaurant were always videotaped, presumably to validate the amount of time she spent there. The longest clip she ever filmed was 4 minutes long. There were even pictures of her working out at the gym, including at the Greek restaurant. Sunday, we went to the supermarket. Cassie waited for the fresh fish she had chosen to be weighed and gutted, and I went to browse the DVDs. They had a selection of cheap old discs. And there, I found one of my favorite movies, Manhunter. At home, we unpacked. Manhunter? Wasn't that a prequel to Silence of the Lambs? Yes, although they didn't realize it at the time. Who's starring in it? The profiler is William Peterson. You'll recognize him as Grissom on CSI. Hannibal is played by Brian Cox. We watched it, and I stayed up after she went to bed. I sat and pondered. When I was sure she was asleep, I turned on the evidence clips on the TV again. Was there something here staring me in the face? William Peterson was studying home videos of murdered families. It was my favorite scene. He watched his clips over and over again and talked to himself. You know you need a bolt cutter, don't you, buddy? And you know about Jacoby's dog and Leeds' cat. And then it dawned on him. You've seen those movies, haven't you? Well, if it worked for him, it might work for me. I arranged the pictures on the floor in date order and ran the movies again. No epiphany yet, but soon I was done with the photos. I realized they didn't tell me anything, so I put them away. I scrolled and scrolled through the clips in the Greek restaurant. I felt a prickle appear on the back of my neck. She enters, but my watchers don't need to follow her. 2 to 4 minutes later, she comes out again. I went back to the details of leaving the house. You go to your Volkswagen and unlock it, don't you, my girl? When you get to the salon, you get out and lock it again. I tried that with the restaurant and the gym. You only pick at your salad for 2 minutes, but you still lock it up, don't you? You love this car, don't you? So why don't you lock it when you pick up your yogurt jar? On the 5th viewing, I noticed it. Thank you, William. Thursday. Do you have cash? I asked. I do, he replied. Did you bring my movie camera? I handed it over. He was very worried about customers using his equipment, but I talked him into it. It was only for 1 day. His attractive watcher was here again. We all shook hands. I need you to prepare the movies from the first day. They show my wife leaving the house, arriving at the work site, and returning back. Okay. And I need similar clips of her going to the gym on Wednesday during lunch. We have similar clips for the next 2 Wednesdays. No need, the first one will suffice. And you, I turned to the girl, please give me access to your records of her first 2 visits, to the restaurant and to the gym. They were ready. These are the movies where you should have noticed the clues of adultery, I said. There were 8 short clips, home, salon, salon, and home. On Wednesday, they showed restaurant, gym, gym, and restaurant. I have to admit, I don't see anything objectionable, he said. Why is she going back to the Greek restaurant? I asked. It's in the report, the girl replied. Your wife is returning their yogurt pot. Okay, and how long were you at the gym the first time? She opened the iPad and looked at her notes. Almost the entire hour she was there. I asked about membership fees, then I insisted on a thorough tour of the facilities, including locker rooms, showers, and restrooms. She had been working out the whole time. She was easy to spot by her blonde hair and red headband. I stayed long enough to see her eating lunch before heading to the showers. You claim to have returned to the restaurant alone the following Tuesday morning before my wife left for work. What's going on there? The restaurant is run by two Greek brothers. One of them comes in early and delivers bread and salads. A couple of girls, also Greek, come in mid-morning and arrange the ingredients on the chilled display case. They open at 11 and offer takeout food until about 2 o'clock. The girls stay and prepare for the evening opening. The brother, who is also the chef, comes in late at night and prepares for the evening meal at the restaurant. I hear they're very eco-friendly, I said. They are. Sandwiches and salads are made to order and wrapped in paper, no plastic. Customers are mostly repeat business and know to bring their own containers. It's not easy to eat a paper salad. Homemade yogurts are sold complete with a spoon. First-time visitors have to pay a deposit, but regular customers have to return the jar and spoon on the honor system. They are sterilized and reused. Now I'd like you to play the movie I made yesterday. Can you show it directly from the camera? No problem, he replied and plugged in the camera. The camera moved down the upstairs hallway. I was proud of how smoothly I was carrying it. My hand came into view and pushed the door open. The room was well lit, but the hallway was dark, so I wasn't seen. Cassie was lying on her back on the bed. On top of her was a man with an incredibly hairy back. They were making love. Cassie was kissing this man, certainly not as seriously as she was making love to him. Still, it seemed more intimate. The Greeks are said to have a certain kind of love-making activity. I didn't really want to witness that, so while she was on her hands and knees, I shifted my gaze to the chair. On top of his clothes was Cassie's sports gear neatly folded. Her new white Nike sneakers were on the floor next to his black leather loafers. For some reason, they looked like they belonged to a married couple. I started to close the door. Before it closed all the way, he turned and saw movement. I lowered the camera. "But that's impossible!" the woman screamed. "She left within minutes every day I was there. She must have found out you hired us and started up again yesterday." I turned to the guy. "What do you think?" "I think I've got it figured out. I owe you some money." "No," she insisted. "I've been so careful. It's impossible." "It's not your fault," he told her. "We both should have worked it out." He turned to me. "What was the clue in the other movies? I didn't notice it." "Prepare them again. But perhaps I should explain it to your assistant first. She's very confused." "Yesterday I got to the restaurant a few minutes earlier than my wife," I said. At that time, the takeout lunch sales were just starting. I looked around and asked if I could use their restroom. They were busy and showed me where it was. While I was out of sight, brother number 1 must have gone upstairs, saying he would take a nap and leave the girls to serve. As my wife entered the restaurant, another helper appeared from the kitchen. She was dressed in identical gym clothes, right down to the wig and headband. She took her sandwich and yogurt and walked out to my wife's car, where you filmed her getting into it. While you were following the waitress and checking on her presence at the gym, my wife was going upstairs to make love to the owner. You didn't know, of course. You said yourself how easy it was to follow her. Workout clothes, hairstyle, everything you needed. She thought for a moment. But the other girls in the restaurant might have known. You're right. The 2 that worked behind the counter should have known the third, especially since she was already dressed as my wife. They're all in the know. But it's all right. You wouldn't have known about it if you hadn't walked into the store and watched the lunch break. I can see why you were waiting outside. Like you said, it was only for a minute or 2. So how did you do it? It's only been one Wednesday since we finished work. How could you be so sure of what was going on in the store? You were hiding in the restroom. I already figured out how they did it. That's why I came in on Tuesday and borrowed the camera. That's an honest cop, the boss said. You'll get half your money back. Now show us what you found on our surveillance tapes. He scrolled through them again. From the house to the saloon and back, Nothing unusual about her locking and unlocking the door of the Volkswagen, but from the restaurant to the gym and back, she's suddenly left-handed. Jesus, that's a good point. May I ask what you're going to do now? The girl asked. Of course. Instead of retreating back down the hall, I stood on the other side of the door. Our big Greek friend rushed outside, away from me. I followed him, and somehow he tripped at the top of the stairs, probably when he was trying to pull up his pants. The poor fellow must have hit everyone coming down. What about your wife? I stepped back into the alcove as she followed him, pulling on her clothes. As unbelievable as it sounds, it's true. She fell down the stairs too and landed on top of him. They were both half naked. The sales girls recognized me. We ate there in the evening. They just watched and didn't call an ambulance until I left. They told me they had quite a few broken bones. They'd both have to spend a couple of weeks in the hospital. By the way, would you be interested in buying a VW Sirocco? I can offer you a good discount. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.